Hello there and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about patch 11.2 Ghosts of Koresh, and in this video we're going to go through everything that is coming in the final major patch of The War Within. But before we jump into that, guys, I do want to give a massive thank you to all of our channel members and everyone over on the Patreon. Really appreciate all the support over there, and if you want to support the channel in that way, I'll leave a link down below. Right, so yes, patch 11.2 Ghosts of Koresh does launch on August 5th in the NA region and August 6th in the EU. This patch obviously contains a brand new season, which will launch 1 week later on August 12th in the NA region and August 13th in the EU. So yeah, very, very soon from the recording of this video. This patch contains quite a lot of things, but also not as much as you'd expect from a major patch. However, there are some really great minor changes and some really exciting things with Season 3, but I will be doing a separate video on Season 3 specifically, but we will mention Season 3 here, but like in more detail, obviously, with the other video. But anyway, let's talk about 11.2, and the first feature, of course, is a brand new zone coming in this patch, and this is Koresh. Yes, we are finally going to the broken homeworld of the Ethereals. I played a ton of this zone on the PTR, and it never ceases to amaze me. The vibes are absolutely immaculate. The skybox in this zone is absolutely spectacular. It really is. Just stopping and staring and looking at the kind of shattered world of Koresh is absolutely amazing. The zone is kind of similar to like Zeref Mortis a little bit, obviously with a lot of broker assets and things like that, but it also has like elements of like Netherstorm. It has eco-domes that have been kind of up-resed from Burning Crusade, which looks absolutely amazing with kind of their own sort of art style inside of those. You can skyride in this zone as you're going to be flying between different floating islands, which is pretty cool, similar to like Argus, I guess, in a sense, but not separate zones themselves, just simply just little islands. Tazavesh is returning in this patch as the player hub for the zone. So Tazavesh is moving from the Shadowlands into Koresh. It will still be there in the Shadowlands, but you know what I mean. You will be kind of using this as a player hub, and you'll likely be spending quite a bit of time here, as this is kind of where your main base is in Koresh. The story campaign is 5 chapters long, with chapters 1 to 3 being available on week 1, and then chapter 4 and the War Within epilogue on week 2. Completing the quest line actually gives you a new warband camp, which is just kind of based in Koresh, which actually might be maybe my favorite one they've ever made. This wasn't available on the PTR, but we do have various screenshots and things like that. So yeah, looks really, really good. Also in the zone, there are 11 local stories or side quests in the zone. So plenty of different side quests to be done with different stories going on there, which are very exciting. You've also got world quests, rares, treasures, everything you kind of expect from a zone at this point. There is no World Soul memory events though, as this is not Azeroth and it's not the World Soul, I suppose. And there's no skywriding races, it seems. So yeah, no races for you to do in this kind of broken zone. However, there is a new renown. We have the Koresh Trust Renown. This is a new 20 level renown. Rewards for this include things like zone upgrades, mounts, different transmog items, resonance crystals, crests, things like that. At the end of the renown track, you will get the title of the Twilight Star and a heroic crafting crest, as we've come to expect with a lot of these renowns in more modern WoW. One of the main features of this zone is a new artifact cloak called the Reshi Wraps. You're going to obtain this on week 1, and the base item level for this is 694. However, you will upgrade it over weeks, which will increase its item level. This has different effects depending whether or not you're a tank, DPS, or healer, and you actually choose the secondary stats of this cloak by putting in a new gem called a fiber gem. These are purchased for 100 gold from a vendor, or you can actually get tailors to craft you better ones, which give you more secondary stats, which is nice. So yeah, as mentioned, this is upgradable. It has 5 different levels of upgrades, which increase the item level and unlock different things around the zone related to some of the other zone-wide activities. Upgrading it costs a new currency called Ethereal Strands. These are obtained through basically everything, so Delves, Mythic Plus, any sort of PvP, the new Manaforge Omega Raid, and Warrants, which are essentially a new weekly activity in Koresh to kill a specific rare. But yeah, basically anything you do will give you these Ethereal Strands, and it takes 3 Ethereal Strands to upgrade one of the levels of your Reshi Wraps. But this currency is completely account-wide. It doesn't go in your currency tab. It's more of a behind-the-scenes currency, and the only way you can view it is a UI on an NPC or inside the upgrade window itself. But yeah, this seems like it's going to be fairly reasonable for the most part. Our current working is that we upgrade it weekly, so yeah, you're going to get each upgrade weekly. So it might take 5 weeks to upgrade fully. I guess we'll see. The max item level of this cloak is actually item level 730 as of PTR, and this is higher than Mythic Mythic Dimensius, which is the last boss of the last raid of the War Within. So this is going to be kind of the highest item level item you can get in this expansion. Another feature in the Koresh zone is a new feature called phase diving, and this is kind of adjacent to your Reshi Wraps, as some of the Reshi Wraps upgrades do affect phase diving. Essentially what the system is a different phase inside the zone. So kind of similar to Korthia Rifts, where you have like kind of a second version of the zone with different NPCs and things like that. To enter phase diving, you simply just go through one of the phase conduits. These are sprouted around the zone. And to leave phase diving, you can just simply just click the buff or use an extraction button. But yeah, you can also use these conduits to port around the zone as well, which is like fast travel around the zone, which is nice. But yeah, inside this kind of phase, you're going to get different world quests, you're going to get rares, treasures, and various different secrets and things like that. There's also a weekly quest which gives you a new currency, which you can purchase brand new rewards like mounts and toys and things like that. So there's tons of different rewards from phase diving, and it seems integral with the zone. As mentioned, different upgrades for phase diving like ground mounts and things will be unlocked through your Reshi Wraps upgrades. So they kind of work hand in hand in that regard. Another world feature of Koresh is ecological succession. So this is kind of a side campaign where you go around collecting creatures from around Azeroth and beyond to kind of populate the ecodomes of Koresh. Your basic gameplay here is that it's just kind of a campaign that unlocks weekly, and doing these weekly quests will also unlock more daily quests for you to maintain the creatures of the ecodome that you've gone out and kind of captured. You definitely want to be doing this feature, as it is a weekly Fill the Bar quest, which will reward a pinnacle cache, which can contain a mount and various pets. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this is probably going to take several weeks to complete, as it is a weekly kind of unlock, but it is okay for the most part. It's kind of interesting to see some of the older characters from World of Warcraft's past coming back for this as well, which is nice. And there's a couple of achievements linked to it as well. It will definitely keep you busy in the zone, just kind of maintaining all of these animals if you'd like to do that. But it is completely optional. There's no real power progression from this system. Moving on into the new raid. Yes, we have a brand new raid in patch 11.2, and this is Manaforge Omega, which is a really awesome name for a raid. This is an 8-boss raid, with actually one of the bosses being optional, which we'll talk about in a moment. The raid release schedule is pretty much standard at this point. At the start of Season 3 on August 12th or 13th, we will get Normal, Heroic, and Mythic, and Raid Finder Wing 1. 1 week later, on August 19th or 20th, we'll get Raid Finder Wing 2 and Story Mode, and then 1 week later, we will get the final wing of Raid Finder, allowing all players to be able to see the entire raid, which is nice. So yeah, just a 3-week cadence of releases for this raid. I've tested this raid in full on the PTR, and I absolutely love it. I love the kind of theming. I love everything about it. You will use your Reshi Wraps to get around as well, which is kind of neat. So you're going to be kind of like ducking and diving around the different platforms of this raid. As mentioned, there are 8 bosses, but one of them is optional. This is the Soul Hunters, which is kind of some void demon hunters, which are a little bit mysterious, but this is an optional boss. You can skip it completely, but some of the loot is pretty good, so you probably won't want to skip it anyway. But yeah, that is the 5th boss of the raid, is going to be optional. The last boss of this raid is Dimensius, which was not tested on the PTR and is said to be the biggest boss they've ever created in World of Warcraft, which is awesome. Of course, as you'd expect, there are class tier sets returning in this raid, with some of them looking absolutely amazing, honestly. I did do a full video on kind of transmogs in 11.2, which does cover the tier sets, so if you want to check that out in more detail. But yeah, a lot of the tier sets are really, really great for the most part. The glory of the Omega Raider mount is the Umbral Karok. This is kind of a new bird mount that we've got a couple of colors of in 11.2. That's going to be your glory mount. We also do have an ahead of the curve mount this time around, and this is the Royal Void Wing, which is kind of similar to the previous Void Wing mount, but with a little crown on it. And there is also a mythic mount. You have the Unbound Star Eater, which is maybe one of my favorite mounts of all time. This drops from Mythic Dimensius and is, yeah, extremely, extremely cool, using a very similar model to kind of the Nether Drakes, but in a very voidy and crazy way, with lots of stars and things like that. So big fan of that mount. One thing as well you can expect to return in 11.2 is the Raid Renown. There is a brand new Raid Renown called the Manaforge Vandals. This has 15 levels, pretty similar to the Undermine Renown, with various additions to kind of the zone, as well as buffs to your character, and various mount rewards as well at different levels. We haven't had any details on how to obtain it, but I would imagine it would be very similar to how it worked in the Liberation of Undermine. Another thing coming in 11.2 is a brand new dungeon. This is Ecodome Aldani. This is a brand new 3-boss dungeon located in Koresh. This new dungeon is available in Follower mode, Normal mode, Heroic mode, Mythic 0, and Mythic Plus. So yeah, available in literally every difficulty. This is not a mega dungeon. This is a regular dungeon where you kind of fight through some ecodomes and some awesome looking bosses. Just a really great dungeon. I really, really enjoy it. It's nice and short and just a really enjoyable experience. Actually, story-wise, this does take place place after the raid's conclusion. However, it's not really involved with the raid. These characters specifically aren't really that involved with the raid, so there's no major spoilers that are going to come out of this dungeon, but it is interesting the fact that it is kind of based in that way. But yeah, thoroughly enjoy this dungeon. Be curious to see how it is in Mythic Plus. But yeah, a brand new 3-boss dungeon coming in 11.2. Sticking with dungeons is also a new Waystone system. So this is a brand new system coming in 11.2 and will obviously be expanded on in the future to other dungeons. But basically what this is a new system that shows you where you'll resurrect if you die in a dungeon or raid, actually. This is actually in the new raid as well. This is actually available on all difficulties as well. Essentially, if you kill a boss and then, obviously that is a new resurrection point, there'll be a mark on the map and in the world, there'll be a physical waystone showing you where you will resurrect. This is a massive quality of life addition and will be available for all Season 3 dungeons and the new raid. So this is absolutely huge, and I hope to see it kind of continue kind of retroactively through basically every dungeon and raid and everything. I think that'd be really cool if they do that. So really big fan of the Waystone system, and I think it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. Moving on into Delves in 11.2. So let's start with Bran. Bran is actually getting some more levels, and probably his final levels, he'll be able to level all the way up to level 100. We will also be getting a curio wipe for Bran. So all of your Season 2 curios will be wiped, and then you'll have to obtain all of these new Season 3 curios. This is likely happening on patch day as well. This happened last season, so to be honest, it's kind of expected at this point. We're also getting a brand new Delve in 11.2. We're getting the Archival Assault. This is actually based in the Azure Vaults dungeon, but the entrance to this delve is going to be in Koresh, so you don't need to travel back to the Dragon Isles. This contains 4 stories, which are super unique and involve dragons and void and ethereals and all sorts of things. I really like this delve. It might actually be one of my favorites. This does obviously use a very similar design to the dungeon, using some of the similar assets, but it definitely feels like a delve. It feels a lot different, and it's a really enjoyable experience. So yeah, that will be available from the launch of 11.2 and is located in Koresh. Updates to other delves include the removal of the underwater mechanic from the Koibus delves. So the Sinkhole and Tekrathan Abyss will actually have their water removed, and these delves will operate more like a regular delve instead of having the kind of underwater mechanic in there. So yeah, kind of a huge change actually. Another change that's going to come a little bit into 11.2 after the second upgrade of Yoreshi Wraps is a new feature which will actually spawn ethereal portals inside some of your delves. So basically, if you see an ethereal portal pop up in a delve, definitely go through it. Once you go through it, you kind of go into a kind of boss rush mode of sorts. Once you've defeated those bosses, you actually just finish the delve. That's the end of the delve. So it's kind of a shortcut to the end. So this doesn't happen in all delves. It will just be kind of RNG, it seems. But yeah, basically it's a shortcut to the end, making a lot of your delves a lot shorter and just way more enjoyable. So that's an upgrade that's coming kind of alongside your Yoreshi Wraps on the second level. Another thing with delves is actually a new system called Memories. Essentially, these are new items you can purchase for 50 silver from the Delvers HQ. Each one of these represents a character from Azeroth's past, like Arthas or Illidan or people like that. And once you're inside a delve, once you click these crystals, it will just spawn the crystal kind of out in the open. What this does is actually anyone in your friends list who's going into a delve or that specific delve will actually see this and can click it to play the voice line from the character that you chose, which is actually pretty cool. It does also tell them who dropped it, so they can see that you actually dropped that specifically, which is cool. Personally, it would have been nicer to have like custom messages of sorts, because it is between your friends, so it can't be too abused, I suppose. But yeah, it's kind of a good start, I guess. So once you're doing delves in 11.2, if you see one of these memory crystals, make sure you click it. Another update for delves, in Season 3, we are getting a new nemesis. We are getting Nexus Princess Kaiveza returning from Nurbar Palace. This was not tested on the PTR, but will have 2 difficulties. For defeating her on the normal mode, you will get a new toy called the Etheric Victory toy. This says that it emanates the aura of victory. This lasts 30 minutes with a 1-hour cooldown and is very, very cool. It does this like amazing looking animation just constantly for like 30 minutes straight, which is amazing. So you get that from normal mode. For defeating her on the hardest difficulty, you will also get a Void skin for your brand new Delve mount, which is a great segue to talk about the Delve mount. Yes, we're getting a third Delve mount, the Delver's Mana Skimmer in Season 3. This is very similar to the other 2. However, this time we have some ethereal themed customizations for the mount, and as mentioned, the Void skin from Kaiveza as well. So yeah, new mount coming for Delves in Season 3. Also as well, we are getting a Season 3 Delver's Journey, where you're going to unlock a lot of these customizations for your Delver's mount. So yeah, kind of what we'd expect at this point. And of course, with Season 3, all the loot in Delves will be upgraded to Season 3 item levels with some new appearances, the kind of like a recolor of the questing sets from 11.2, which are very, very nice. So look out for those inside Delves. And as of Season 3, the Delve vendor will sell the Season 2 transmog and weapon ensembles, as well as some new 11.2 items as well. We are expecting Undercoin to reset at the start of the season. So if you are watching this before the start of the season, before the patch, please do go and spend those right now because they're likely going to reset. Another kind of unexpected update happening to Delves in 11.2 is a new faction war. So at the Delves HQ, there's 2 icons for Horde and Alliance with a percentage bar. Now, this is such a weird thing because Blizzard have just not acknowledged this at all. Basically, when an Alliance or Horde character do a Delve, it contributes to the bar. What it looks like is when the bar is filled by a respective faction, you will unlock a Alliance or Horde decal for your Delver's mount. So that's pretty cool. I believe it's for the Season 1 mount, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you're going to unlock a kind of Alliance and Horde decal. These were data mined way back at the start of the War Within and never used. So looks like they're kind of finding a way to do that. But yeah, we literally have no idea how long it's going to take to fill that bar. We don't know if it's going to reset daily, weekly, monthly, patchly, seasonally. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. And a couple final things on Delves. There is also some portals to Bountiful Delves in Tazavesh in Koresh. So these are actually going to rotate daily and are a one-way trip to kind of go through, and then you'll get straight to a Bountiful Delve. So you won't have to travel too much to get to a Bountiful Delve, which is nice. And finally, at the start of the patch, overcharged Delves will be removed. They're gone. However, the belt, the Titan Disc Belt, will be still obtainable and upgradable by your characters, simply just from a quest in the Delver's HQ. It will just involve regular Delves instead of overcharged. The rewards from overcharged Delves, like the mount and the Hearthstone, will be added to the Delve vendor if you didn't manage to get those during the patch now. But they are going to cost 15,000 undercoin for the mount and 5,000 for the Hearthstone. So make sure you're kind of getting them now before, like while they're a lot more easy. But yeah, that's all the updates come to Delves in 11.2. Moving on into something completely different, class changes. Yes, of course, and like any major patch, we can expect some pretty major class changes across the board. According to Blizzard, a lot of the focus is currently on Shadow Priest, Brewmaster Monk, Frost Death Knight, and Unholy Death Knight. However, pretty much every class has been adjusted in this major patch. So if you want to check out the kind of full class changes, I'll leave a link to the development notes down below. Moving on into Season 3. So one thing you can expect at the start of Season 3 is actually Valor Stones will not be reset at the start of the season. This is the first time this has happened. So yeah, luckily, your Valor Stones aren't being reset. So you can kind of cap out now and it's going to be fine rolling into Season 3. Season 3 starts on August 12th or 13th, depending on your region. Of course, with every season, we have a brand new Mythic Plus dungeon rotation. So this time around, we have 8 dungeons. We have Ecodome Aldani, of course, the new dungeon. We have the Halls of Atonement from Shadowlands, Tazavesh Streets of Wonder from Shadowlands, Tazavesh Solia's Gambit from Shadowlands, Arakara City of Echoes, the Dawnbreaker, Priory of the Sacred Flame, and Operation Floodgate from the War Within. So those are your Mythic Plus dungeons for Season 3. Personally, I would have loved to have seen like a Mana Tombs be thrown in there. That would have been super cool, but yeah, it is what it is. That's what we've got so far. Just a lot of Shadowlands and obviously some War Within stuff. As for Keystone mounts in Season 3, for Keystone Master, we have the Azure Void Flyer mount, which is kind of a Void version of a new model we have in Koresh. And for Keystone Legend, we have the Scarlet Void Flyer, which is a slight recolor of the previous mounts. So those are your Mythic Plus mounts. For PvP in Season 3, no major changes. Obviously, we're going to get like new Aspirant sets and Gladiator sets and things like that. But Koresh does have a little PvP island, which contains a world quest. So yeah, you can go and PvP on this kind of little island off the side of Koresh, which is nice. The Vicious mount in Season 3 is the Vicious Void Creeper mount. There are 2 different colors. You have the purple one for the Alliance and the orange one for the Horde, but there is no like faction-specific markings on them. But regardless, they look very cool, kind of an armored version of the Void Creeper mount. For Gladiator mounts this season, we have the Astral Gladiator's Fellbat. So yes, it is a Fellbat, but yes, it does have some very cool kind of Void theming to it. This wasn't the original model. This was actually recently changed on the PTR, which is awesome. So yeah, those are your kind of PvP updates in Season 3. Switching it up into some UI changes in 11.2, so we actually have a new redesign of the Who list. Yeah, very slight redesign. I don't know if it works any better, but yeah, that's getting redesigned in 11.2. Another minor change is that in the Set tab, the character is going to be moving now, so they're just kind of breathing when standing there, so that's a nice change. A big change happening in 11.2 is the bank is getting an update. So the bank is actually getting kind of a whole redesign similar to how the Warbank works, or how the Warbank looks, per se. Similar to the Warbank, you have different tabs which you can rename and customize and things like that, and each of these tabs will contain 98 slots. Now, the 6 different tabs can be purchased for 1 gold, 100 gold, 500 gold, 1,000 gold, 2,500 gold, and then 5,000 gold. However, when you reach level 80, all of your tabs will be unlocked automatically, which is fantastic. So the reagent bank has been removed. However, any of the bank tabs can now serve as a reagent tab, which is nice. Another big thing that's happening with banks is that void storage has been removed. You might not have remembered void storage. It was from the Cataclysm expansion, I think. That's gone, and all of your items from that will be transferred into your kind of new big bank. But overall, we are getting a lot more space in our banks in 11.2, which is cool. Another minor change is that when you're transferring currency between characters, the window will actually remain open after you've completed the transaction, so you don't have to keep opening it over and over again, which is super nice. Speaking of currencies, we're actually getting a new currency for crafting. So this is a pretty cool thing, actually. It's more of a visual update. So basically, with your sparks that you get during the season, it's always hard to kind of know how many, you've obtained and what's a seasonal cap and things like that. So there's actually going to be a new currency in your currency tab, which tells you kind of how many sparks you've collected in the season and what the current cap is for the season. Now, you're not going to use this currency. This is just a visual way of seeing how many you've earned. So the spark system is going to continue to operate how it does right now. It's going to be in your bag and things like that. But this is just going to be a more visual way to see how many you've earned and what the current caps are, which is nice. Another cool update in 11.2 is that there's a new emote. Yeah, we can do /lean. Yeah, we can now lean in the air and look pretty chill, like a chill guy, by doing /lean. That is available to all races, of course, and yeah, just typing /lean in the chat will do this brand new emote. And finally, something we don't know a ton of things about, but Brewfest is getting an update in 11.2. Of course, Brewfest will be rolling around about October time. We do know, however, there is a new mount called the Brewfest Barrel Bomber, and this is listed as a drop from Korin Diabrew. This is an awesome looking mount using a similar model to like Mimron's head and things like that. But yeah, it looks like this is going to be a drop mount. Not sure on percentages. Hopefully it's not a low drop rate, but there is a new mount coming for Brewfest among some other things, I would imagine. And finally, I know people are going to ask about this, so I'm just going to add it to the end here. Horrific Visions. Horrific Visions are staying in Season 3. However, they won't be relevant. They're not relevant for gearing, so they'll continue to exist. You can still get all the achievements. You can still get all the cosmetics and things like that. However, they will continue to drop Season 2 items, and they will be scaled for Season 2 damage as well. So if you're missing a couple of achievements from there, Season 3, and once you're geared to the teeth during that season, is going to be a great time to do it. I'd imagine they're probably never going away, so you're probably going to be able to do that in Midnight and The Last Titan and beyond. So pretty cool. They will continue to exist, but they're not going to be relevant for gearing, but you can still get the cosmetics. And there you go. That is patch 11.2, Ghosts of Koresh. A pretty big patch for the most part. There's quite a lot of stuff going on with the new zone and things like that. So yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Obviously, Season 3 being a major part of this patch, which we, as mentioned, will be doing a separate video on in more specifics. But guys, let me know down below how you feel about the final major patch of The War Within. Are you excited for it? How do you feel? Let me know down below. Are you excited to head to Koresh? I certainly am. I think there's some fun stuff here. And as a collector, it seems very achievable, unlike Undermine, which definitely is kind of rough. But this one seems a lot better. But guys, let me know down below. And if you like this video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to support me outside of YouTube, I'm over on Patreon and I'm on Twitter, MrGMYT, and I've got a partner Discord channel as well. And also, I am streaming on twitch.tv/MrGM. If you want to see me stream World of Warcraft, War Within, 11.2, any sort of WoW, I'm over on twitch.tv/MrGM. And with that, guys, I'll see you next time.